Yes, Sadiq Khan should resign. It's been revealed this week by a report from the BBC that the grooming gangs that we saw in places like Rotherham and Rochdale exist. Their investigation spoke to victims, saying that they were groomed here in London, in our capital city, in the same way that they were in those northern towns, by, as they described it, South Asian men. Some of the victims were as young as 13. Now, you'd think our Mayor of London, who always wants to preach how safe London is, would be across this, wouldn't you? Well, why don't we remind ourselves of what he said to Susan Hall in the London Assembly last year when she asked him about the existence of grooming gangs in London.
So are you saying we haven't got the same sort of gangs that are in Rotherham, Bradford and lots of other places in the country?
Just for your misunderstanding, what does she mean by that?
You know full well what I mean by that.
What does she mean by that? I'm unclear what is meant by the question. He's desperate for her to define the perpetrators by race, not because he wants to solve the problem, but because he is desperate to smear her as racist in his reply. We know the types of grooming gangs Susan Hall was talking about. But of course, it doesn't fit Sadiq Khan's narrative to solve that problem because he is obsessed with diversity and white girls can go on the scrap heap. He should resign in shame, but of course, that's doing the right thing, and he won't.
Alex, that footage makes my blood boil whenever I see it. I think that Sadiq Khan has minimised the grooming gangs as an issue. Why do you think he's done that?
Yeah, well, I think Sadiq Khan has a lot to lose by talking about grooming gangs. He's got a big, diverse, let's put it that way, a vote that he needs to protect. And as we've seen the Labour Party do time and time again, they want to squirm away from this issue because it's going to affect their vote share. And I genuinely believe that, I really do. But at the end of the day, Sadiq Khan is going to face a reckoning. He now has had to come to the reality that there's going to be a national grooming gangs inquiry, rape gangs inquiry, as they should be called. 9,000 cases have been reopened in London magically. Where did they come from? That's what I want to know from Labour. All of a sudden, and he realised if he doesn't do something about it now, he's going to go down with the sinking ship that is his party. Unfortunately, I think it's too late for the Mayor of London.
It's just absolutely repellent. He's a repellent runt, the way in which he tries to get out of it all. Susan Hall, by the way, is formidable for not being on his case. But don't you think that this is absolutely dreadful? Don't you think Sadiq Khan should hang his head in shame?
Yeah, I really don't understand why Sadiq Khan hasn't himself woken up to the massive issue of grooming gangs in the way that others in the Labour Party have.
You really don't understand.
And I know what the answer is going to be, but can I just pick up on this investigation by the BBC, which actually found a very complex picture in terms of ethnic backgrounds in London. Just what it actually said was that differently to Rotherham, and differently to the gang-based violence that we've seen in many northern towns, it's not just Southeast Asian men.
No, it's not just. You're quite right. The report showed that there were lots of different... There were county lines ones, there were different ones as well.
Exactly.
However,
which is a complex picture.
There was the existence of South Asian-type grooming gangs.
Which begs the question, why did he...
Khan didn't say...
I agree. But it does speak to how complicated this whole issue is.
Let's just maybe read a headline from another media organisation. This was 3 days ago, teenage girls lured into forced sex by gangs in London. That to me sounds like rape gangs. I don't know about you,
I read the whole investigation, Alex. I didn't just read the headline.
I'm going to add to this. I am very, very good friends with Maggie Oliver. I have sat down and talked to her about London at length, and trust me, there are Asian grooming gangs well at work in London. This is not why Sadiq Khan is refusing to acknowledge it. He's refusing to acknowledge it because he's in power because of
the Met has already said it's re-examining 1,200 historic cases since the National Review.
Just in the nick of time.
That was the point of the audit.
In the nick of time.
All right. Goodness me.
Every time your phone connects to public Wi-Fi, anyone nearby could snoop on what you're doing. Hackers can steal your information, passwords, photos, and bank details in just seconds. ExpressVPN encrypts your connection, making it virtually impossible for hackers to access your personal information. ExpressVPN is so easy to use. With just one click of a button, you're protected. Streaming, banking, or shopping, you can switch between high-speed servers worldwide in seconds, and your connection never slows down. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code to get up to 75% off, plus 4 extra months free, all backed by a 30-day money-back guarantee. Protect your online life today.
As I said before the break, this week, Keir Starmer, with a straight face, told the BBC how devoted he is to women and children. He lies. If Keir cared about women, he would order Bridget Phillipson to publish the EHRC guidance that defines for workplaces and schools and institutions how they should treat women, proper women. If he cared, he would have initiated the grooming gang inquiry the moment he stepped over the doorway of 10 Downing Street and not have to be bullied and shamed to bring one in. If he cared, he wouldn't allow the NHS to vilify and suspend nurses because they don't want to get changed in front of those men who say they are women. If he cared, he wouldn't allow any men or boys to take part in girls' and women's sport. If he cared, he wouldn't say that 0.01% of women have penises. He doesn't care. He just cares about the fetishes and the delusions of a particular vote that he's too scared to lose to the loony Greens. So he carries on ignoring women and girls and then telling the camera that he is devoted to us. Well, we see you, Keir, for the snake oil salesman that you are, and any woman who actually believes that they are a woman should never, ever look to you to lead this country again.
Kai, I'll throw to you, our resident DEI aficionado. Is scrapping the Equalities Act such a shocking idea as Starmer suggests?
Well, yeah, I think it's a stupid idea. And Renee, what you're doing is just ignoring real, concrete policies that would help women for tired culture war tropes about trans spaces. I mean, really, come on, lifting the 2-child benefit cap, 30 hours of free childcare, free breakfast clubs, all of those things.
I don't agree with any of those things.
All right, but those are actually much more material ways of helping women than the nonsense that you put out there. And also, by the way, they're out of date. We know that now there's an inquiry into the grooming gangs. Too little, too late, you may say.
Did you hear what I said? I said instead of him having to be shamed and bullied to launch.
That's your spin. That's your spin. Sorry, the EHRC guidance has been submitted in September 2025. Is it any surprise that it takes more than 5 months to review such a complicated piece of guidelines? These are tired, Renee. These are tired, and you ignore willfully all the things that this government is doing for women.
You didn't mention the guidance from the Supreme Court, did you, Kai? Because he could just implement that. It's been 10 months now.
Yes.
10 months.
I'm sure there are things they can do better, Renee, but to say that he lies when he says that reform aren't as pro-women as Labour, you have no answer for that.
Alex, I really do.
Look, Renee, just before we get back to that, Alex, I want to hear your thoughts on this.
Listen, the Equalities Act has been abused and weaponised time and time again. Men and women should be treated equally in this country, and you don't need legislation to deliver that. Actually, what that does is it allows people who are actually fit for jobs there might be a man who's better than a woman for a job, for example. There might be a woman that's better for a man in some cases. The way the Equalities Act works actually is discrimination. You can call it positive discrimination, but it's still discrimination nonetheless. It's divisive. And at the end of the day, we've seen this weaponised time and time again. And the fact that this government's had to go all the way to the Supreme Court to get a definition of what a woman is shines a light on how ridiculous your argument is. You can't even define your party, and many people around your party can't define a woman, yet you want to treat women equally. How about you start with the definition first?
Christo, your final thoughts before we go to your topic.
Very quickly, Keir Starmer has changed his position so many times. He thought a woman could have a penis, then he said he didn't. We're treating puberty blockers, then not puberty blockers. You know, there is no consistency. And by the way, I also worry about the Equalities Act going without something to replace it if it does ever end up going. However, the people to blame for the reason that people want to throw out the baby with the bathwater on the Equalities Act is people like you.